America. A land where dreams are built on skyscrapers, where every corner promises new beginnings. But behind the glitter, some dreams die silently, and sometimes they take entire families down with them. What if I told you that one of America's most chilling family murders wasn't about revenge, money, or hatred, but something far more common, something that could be affecting people you know right now? This isn't just another crime story. It's about a family who moved across oceans for a better future. A family that smiled in pictures, earned scholarships, raised children, and looked perfect from the outside. Yet in one single night, their home turned into a graveyard. This is the story of the Towhid family. A story about depression, about silence, and about a decision so horrifying that it stunned the entire nation. Welcome to Life in Frames. It was April 5th, 2021, Allen City, Texas, just past 1 a.m. An emergency call came through to 911. The caller's voice was calm, too calm for what he was reporting. Said there had been a suicide inside a family home. Police rushed to the address. Allen was known as one of the safest cities in Texas, a suburban dream where violent crime was almost unheard of. But nothing could have prepared officers for what they were about to see. When they arrived, the house was silent. Curtains drawn, lights off. Officers knocked, but there was no answer. They forced the door open. Inside, the air was heavy. The kind of silence that feels wrong. The kind of silence that tells you something is very, very wrong. And then they saw it. 6 bodies. Parents, children, grandmother, all shot dead. Blood stained the carpet, the walls, the furniture. The family's beloved dogs had been killed. The officers froze. Some of them would later admit that scene would haunt them forever. This wasn't just a crime scene. It was a massacre. As news spread, neighbors poured onto the street. Many were crying, unable to believe what had happened. The Towhids weren't strangers. They were well-known, friendly, the kind of family that waved at you from the driveway. For years, people had admired them. The father Towhid worked in it. He had brought his family from Bangladesh to America, chasing the immigrant dream. His wife Erin dedicated herself to raising their 3 children, Tanvir, the eldest, 21 years old, the 19-year-old twins, Farhan and Farhan. Their grandmother also lived with them, loved by everyone in the neighborhood. From the outside, they were everything America promised: hardworking, successful, close-knit. They were supposed to be safe here. And now, in a single night, they were gone. At first, investigators were baffled. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, no smashed windows. Nothing was stolen. Whoever did this was already inside. And then the mystery deepened. The young man who had called 911 arrived at the scene. He showed police an Instagram post. The caption stopped everyone cold. It began with the words, "I killed my family and then killed myself." Attached was an 11-page letter, a confession, suicide note. The truth was out. This wasn't a home invasion. This wasn't robbery. This was a murder-suicide, carried out by 2 of the family's own sons, Farhan and Tanvir. We understand how this tragedy unfolded. We need to go back. Farhan had always been intelligent, but also sensitive. When he began college, he carried the same hopes as every immigrant child: to succeed, to make his parents proud. But things didn't go as planned. After several failed exams, Farhan's confidence began to crumble. Each failure felt like a weight pressing down on him. His parents noticed and took him to a psychiatrist. For a while, the treatment worked. He seemed lighter, more stable. When another failure came, the depression returned, this time darker than before. He began comparing himself to his friends. They were stressed too, but they didn't need medication. Why was he so weak? Why couldn't he handle life the way others did? He started opening up to friends, but his constant sadness became too much for them. Some stopped picking his calls. Eventually, the complaints piled up, and the hostile warden moved him to another room. That rejection cut deep. To Farhan, it felt like proof that he didn't belong anywhere. Defeated, he left college and returned home. His parents didn't force him back. They just wanted him to be okay. But inside that house, Farhan sank further. He turned to video games, hours, days, endless nights staring at screens. Games became his escape, but they also worsened his isolation. One evening, Farhan confided in his older brother, Tanvir, expected comfort. Instead, he found something else. Tanvir admitted he was struggling too. Quiet, smart, responsible, he had always seemed like the stable one. But behind closed doors, he was also battling depression. And so instead of lifting each other up, the brothers pulled each other down. They began to feed each other's despair. They talked not about fixing things, but about ending them. Eventually, they made a pact. Give life one more month. If things didn't change, they would take their own lives. But then their thinking grew darker. If they killed themselves, what would happen to their parents? To their sister? Wouldn't. They'd be left behind, broken forever. In their twisted logic, they convinced themselves that the merciful choice was to take everyone with them. In America, buying guns was easy. Farhan walked into a store, filled out a form. One question asked if he had a history of mental illness. He checked no. That was it. No deep background check, no verification. Minutes later, he walked out with weapons. The plan was set. On April 5th, while the family slept peacefully, the brothers began their grim mission. First, they turned on their parents' room. Shots echoed through the quiet house. Their father, then their mother. Next, they moved to their sister's room. Farben, bright and full of life. A scholarship student who dreamed of a big future was silenced in an instant. Then their grandmother. Finally, even the family's dogs. Room by room, the warmth of the Towhid household was erased. Only Farhan and Tanvir were left. What exactly happened next remains unclear. Did one shoot the other? Then himself? Did they fire at the same time? Investigators may never know. But by the time the sun rose over Allen City, the Towhid family was no more. The Instagram note posted just before the murders spread like wildfire. 11 pages of despair, written by Farhan explaining his pain. He wrote that he loved his family deeply, that he didn't want them to suffer after his death. In his mind, killing them was an act of mercy. He described depression as real, devastating, and invisible. He compared it to physical pain, sometimes worse. He said treatment only offered temporary relief, and what he wanted was permanent happiness. The post horrified the internet. Some called it selfish. Others saw it as a tragic cry for help that came too late. The tragedy of the Towhid family forces us to face uncomfortable truths. Mental illness doesn't always show. Smiles can hide suffering. Families can miss the signs. Depression isn't weakness. It isn't laziness. It is an illness, one that deserves the same attention and care as any physical disease. When ignored, it can consume not just one life but many. The Towhids weren't evil. They were victims of silence. Victims of a society that still struggles to take mental health seriously. So what can we learn? If you or someone you know is struggling, talk, share. Don't keep it inside. Depression thrives in silence. Simple things matter. Sleep, exercise, routine, limiting screen time. But sometimes professional help is necessary, and that is okay. Because once life is gone, there's no restart button. This was the story of the Towhid family that crossed oceans for dreams only to be destroyed by an illness society often ignores. Tell me in the comments, do you think the parents could have done anything differently? Thank you for staying with us. If you found this story important, please like, share, and subscribe to Life in Frames.